is Mr. Hanoz Patel, and I must tell you about this great researcher. He's a very focused historian and a museologist with experience in field research. All the research that he does on the field, he posts it to the Bharatiya Dharohar Evam Samskriti. And it is really wonderful to see this boy doing such hard work. In field research, it's method and tools. He's a professional, he has professional experience in documentation. And he had headed one of the research foundation called Sthalantar Research Foundation for documentation, and presently is a museum consultant with the National Tribal Freedom Fighters Museum. And his contribution to showcase the findings is immense, because we keep reading about it. And he's in charge of the research and curation of the historical content regarding the Adivasi movement. And he has across India, and he has been traveling across India. He also posts the meals they have, the meals they offer him, and the breakfast. It so indigenous, so nutritious, so original, and so organic. Is Hanos Patel with us? Hanos is working for the Tribal Freedom Fighters Museum. There are 10 museums being setting up across India. The National Museum is being set up in Gujarat. Hanos is a researcher, field researcher. He only believes in primary sources, not secondary sources. And hence his presentation will really mark a difference and open our minds to the Adivasi way of living, to the tribal way of living, and their contribution to our history, which is ignored for quite some time. Hanos, over to you.
Good afternoon. Firstly, let me apologize that I had to change schedules. Sorry for that. I hope my presentation is visible, ma'am.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, the museum that I'm working for, it's an upcoming museum, National Freedom Fighters Museum. It's very specifically a historical museum to depict the contribution that the tribal communities have done for the freedom movement within the freedom movement. So firstly, I'll just introduce a little bit about the museum, then we'll go into which movement I'm concentrating on and how we are trying to visualize that into a museum exhibition. So how did this concept come about? So on 15th August 2016, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that is going to build 10 museums across the country to commemorate the contribution of Adivasis within the freedom movement. So these were and then Gujarat became the national museum among them. So our site is, I'm just going to go through it. So this is where it's located. It's very close to the Statue of Unity complex.
Sorry, Hanos, can you be a little louder or come closer to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
mic?
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Now am I audible, ma'am? Properly?
Better, but you could be louder.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is our site. It's in Garudeshwar village periphery. It's very close to the Statue of Unity, around just two kilometers or so. Uh, just to give you an idea where it is from Baroda and where it is from Ahmedabad. So this is our site. It's a 25 acre total land complex, out of which there are a lot of different attractions, including the museum building as well. Just area appreciation, how it is like. So it's Narmada is very close by, right in front of it. What are the different attractions in the region? These are the different particles of it. This is currently our master plan for the entire complex. We have the museum block, of course. We'll also have a tribal hut section at the other end of the campus. This is what our current situation is. So basically we will be inaugurating it by 25 June of 25. That is what we are expecting it to get through. Right now there are a lot of civil work activities going on the site. So what are the different movements that we've identified? So when we started doing the research, we've identified over 120 different movements that happened, which were led by the tribal heroes. Out of which we've identified 18, to be precise, it will be 19, which will be exhibited as in form of a gallery, a very specific full-fledged gallery. Apart from that, we'll also have a minor movement gallery. We don't have a precise name for it, but all the different heroes who cannot be incorporated into the gallery section, those will be getting mentioned in the minor movement gallery. Apart from that, we'll also have an introduction gallery, introduction to the tribes. So these are our 18 or 19, and over the Battle of Aberdeen will be presenting it, but not in form of a gallery. It is a unique section that will be creating just to showcase the occurrence of what happened in Andaman and Nicobar. So Gujarat has 4 movements. Central, we basically done a zonal division of the movements, and we created 5 zones: west, east, north, south, and central. And this is how it will look like. These will all be major galleries, basically, right? So what are the different parallel attractions? So in the museum block, within the museum block, there'll be a gallery for tribal freedom heroes, as I mentioned. All those who cannot be incorporated into galleries. For now, the figure is around 60 plus such heroes will be depicted in the museum in this particular gallery. There's a tree of life, a kind of a very yeah, interpretationally kind of a very big exhibit, center of attraction kind of a thing, just close to the orientation gallery. Then there'll be an introduction gallery where we'll be introducing around 15 to 20 different tribes across India, which are being picked from the movements that we are going to showcase. There'll be an auditorium, a library. Apart from that, in the museum campus itself, there's an open amphitheater, there's an artisan workshop, which will have artisans working there 24/7. There's a tribal mall very close to the main road, and these are the main idea things. Now, the movement that I'm trying to bring before you is the Naikada movement. The name of the tribe is Naikada, and after we name movement or the gallery after them, what they have done. So this occurred in the Panchmahal district, the current Panchmahal district of Gujarat. And the timeline for this movement is from 1838 to 1868, and this occurred in 3 different phases. The first one will go on a little bit later. The main leaders of this movement were Raja Roop Singh Nayak and Sanjoria Pan. So there are 2 facets to it. There's a political movement and there's a social reformist movement also. So just to give you an idea where movement occurred, so on the left you will see the Champaner Pavagadh World Heritage Site, and the main zones have been marked. So Zinjri, Narukod, Wadek, Jambugoda, Hathi Pagla were the main event sites where the British and the tribes conflicted. Just to give another idea, its location on the bottom, there's a rectangle which is where our site would be. Just to give an idea again how far and how close it is to Baroda and from Ahmedabad, right? So when we first incorporated or decided to incorporate Naikada as a full-fledged gallery, we began a little bit of secondary research, whatever literature was available. So we first began with who are the Naikadas, and we couldn't find much literature, to be very honest, on them. And through a small field visit to the Lady Wilson Museum, we found a Xerox copy of this particular book called Naikas and Naikas, the old publication, which used to be the Tribal Research Training Institute of Gujarat, which is renamed now. This is by Dr. P.G. Shah. So basically, just to understand the tribe, we picked up this book, and this is what this is basically the current main book that we'll be using to introduce the Naikadas in the gallery. Right? So that was one publication. Then, just to give you a very quick run through the Naikada movement, so it is a 30-year-long period of struggle that the Naikadas had with the British. It's in 3 distinct phases, as I said, that these are the 2 main leaders of it, and we'll go into the political and the other aspects of it. So basically, when we began concentrating on developing the historical content, we found out the 3 phases. The first phase and the immediate cause or the main cause for the first phase was that Raja Roop Singh Nayak's father, uh, Raja Gobar Singh, was killed by a king of the Bharatiya state, a neighboring kingdom, native kingdom. But Raja Rup Singh Naik did not get his inheritance or his kingdom. Instead, it went to Jagat Singh Bharia, who was the killer of his father. So that was the first beginning of the first phase, which then went into different. We'll go into a little bit of much detail later on. The second phase is again remnant of the 1857 movement and 1858 different issues. The land now the British have officially entered in this region and they have a strong control over here. So their alien policies are now being seen, and that conflict is starting to grow. So land and revenue was one important cause, and of course the first war of Indian independence. Then the third phase and the final phase was the 1868 movement, where both political faction of Raja Rup Singh Naik and the social or the religious faction of son Joria Parameshwar get together and they decide to form the Naikda Raj or the Naikda Kingdom. Right? So how did the British finally get into this area? So Narukot was actually named after Naru Nayak. Earlier, the same region was called Tokalpur, which was named after Tokalville. So Naru Nayak won over Tokalville and he renamed the region as Narukot. Then Narukot became a Nayak country, the center of it. Then Baria state is a very close native kingdom. There was Nayak kingdom, and Baria state became a slightly stronger in there, with Baroda state being the predominant stronger faction in this region. So Baria state and the Baroda state, the Gaikwads, controlled Narukot and its administration and everything that used to happen. Then after the Jagat Singh Bharia, the head of Bharia state, the king of Bharia state, kills Gobar Nayak and takes over Zinzri, which was the capital of the Nayak country, or the capital of Gobar Nayak. The Nayakadas start to fight back, and which is where the Bharyas and the Nayakadas are fighting among themselves, which is when Jagat Singh Bharia uh, finds it difficult to resist the Nayakadas. He does not have enough military strength to, and which is when he sends a letter to the British saying that I am willing to give away Narukot settlement to you, and he invites them, and that is how the British finally come. So there's a letter written by him. It's of course in a different language, which is the translated version that you see here, which is from the Reva Kanta directly, the Gazette. So this is how the British finally get control of Narukot region. Then we wanted to understand what were the different parameters or the events or the historical narration basically. So again, we did not find a lot of literature or literary content, and we finally managed to find one small article from a very contemporary article actually, which became our foundational document again for the historical content, which is from the Cornhill magazine named Our Little Wall with the Niagara. So it's again a very British perspective of the Nayakaras. Like they were thieves, drunken people. They did not want to be civilized, and the white man burden kind of a narrative you can very clearly. But most interesting aspect is the geography narration is very beautiful, which will help us when we are curating the gallery further. The other limitation is that this article, being around 15 to 20 pages, does not name any British officer that was part of this movement. You can see a little snapshot I've put in the bottom. Mr. P, the agent of the governor, and so on, Lieutenant W. So we did not know the full name of who was involved in it, but through other sources, we finally managed to find out. So PG Shah became our cultural document. This became our historical document. Little bit about the archival document became how the process and the political things happen. So how do I describe the first phase? The 1838, Narukot is a Girasi hub. Girasi is basically then where they have the land in their control and they can extract revenue from it. Uh, that is basically a Girasi. Girasi again, you have Girasi Bhil tribe also, which is how they are known for that because they have land among them and they can extract tax from them. So Rup Singh Nayak, or Raja Rup Singh Nayak, is denied his inheritance of Narukot and Zinzri, and which is why he decides to fight back. So the political agent on the British side, who partook in this movement, political agent of Reva Kanta, Bharia State and Chota Udaipur supported British, and Jagat Singh Bharia. So colloquially or in the field, he is known as Jukta Bharia. In documents, it is Jagta Bharia. But Bharia community, when you ask it, it is Jagat Singh Bharia. So we are using Jukta Bharia and Jagat Singh Bharia whenever, whichever is required. So it was an armed struggle, a direct fight between the Naikras and the British, supported by Bharia and Chota Udaipur. But there's no clear outcome that we could find in any literary sources. So here I am presenting to you what happened from the Naikada memory. So when we spoke to the Naikadas, they said it nobody won, nobody lost. It was a stalemate, and there was an unwritten peace treaty in 1838. Both Raja Roop Singh Naik and the British and Bharia and Chota Udaipur state sat together. They had a meeting together and decided no more violence. You do what you want, and we will control Narukot from now on. After that, British officially began to control this region, and slowly, administrative changes, policy changes, acts and everything began. Forest Act and everything started to come in slowly. So 1838 is a stalemate. So which is when Raja Rup Singh Naik goes back to his Narukot region, and he is living peacefully. He's maintaining his region peacefully. There's no action or no violence after that. Then British intrusion, as we saw in 1838, ending of 1838, administrative changes and the acts and everything are coming. So slowly, British intrusion is enhancing. People are not happy. They are feeling that they have different policies which were not there. They did not accept those policies. People are being oppressed by the agencies that have been put into place, like the Abkari excess officer, the law system that was newly introduced into the region, court system and everything, and people are feeling oppressed. There's a rise of discontent, which is when the Naikadas try to go back to Raja Roop Singh Naik, and they ask him to help them out through this scheme. So again, this is the second conflict. 1857 is just ending across the country. Tatya Tope's forces are slowly coming towards southern parts, and Bhausaheb Pawar becomes an ally of Raja Rup Singh Naik and Bhav Singh Pawar's forces, Raja Rup Singh Naik's forces, and Keval Naik, who's a very close associate of Raja Rup Singh Naik. They form an army and they fight against the British. So now we finally get some names who fought from the British thing. So the 8th Native Infantry under Captain Bates was one, and Richard Bonner, who was the head of the Bhill Corps. Now, Bhill Corps is again a very interesting thing. We have 3 or 4 Bhill Corps within this region. We have the Mewar Bhill Corps, we have the Khandesh Bhill Corps, we have the uh, another Rajasthan version of Mewar Bhill Corps, Marwa Bhill Corps, and Khandesh. 3 Bhill Corps who are active in this region, right from the borders of Rajasthan, from Mangarh to Gujarat, to the periphery, to the almost to the end of MP border, crossing on to this border. So on this conflict happens, again the Naikadas are defeated on 10th March 1859. Raja Rup Singh Naik and his associate Keval Naik finally decide to surrender, and sanctions and other things are imposed. They are stopped from having a physical army, a standing army, in tax monetary sanctions are imposed. They have to pay some money to the British for the war expenses and everything. So this is the first defeat of them. The problem what we need to understand here is it's the war between the bullet and the arrow. The British are fighting with the modern warfare, while the Nigras are basically fighting with still bows and arrows, swords and spears. So we- that is one important thing. Then we'll slightly move on to the third phase, and before the phase, there's a rise of a social reformation movement, which is we will go to Joria Kalia Bhagat. So Bhagat, the term Bhagat is a person who's a religious person. That is what it is identified. When we call somebody Bhagat in a Naikada or the Bhil tribes, he's basically a religious person. Not like a priest or something, but he's just a religious person. Then he goes into penance. He undertakes penance, and Joria Kalia Nayak becomes Joria Bhagat. Then he becomes Sant Joria. And ultimately, he is recognized as Joria Parmeshwar, right? So he does an active penance, and he gets divine mystical powers. He and starts to give sermons across the region. people believe him, people trust him, judgment. And then slowly he gets to get a larger audience that people start to follow his faction of these teachings, right? So this period again is very similar. You have all the tribal movement we saw. There is a faction where a social reformation movement is also part of that larger scale, right? Then slightly when he starts to go move from religious reformation or social reformation, he's also starting to arm them slightly. He understands, Joria Parmeshwar tries to understand that an armed conflict has to happen. Without that, the British cannot be expelled from that region. So the armed section of his of among his followers were known as Ladvaiyas or Jodhas, basically Yodhas. So this Ladvaiyas had a very specific appearance, which is mentioned here, and his Joria is very closest associate, like Keval Naik was for Raja Rup Singh Naik. The title of the designation was Hanuman. And this is how these images that you see here are obtained from the field. These are how Joria Parmeshwar on the left, on the right, and Raja Rup Singh Naik on the left. So the third phase, again, political faction of Raja Rup Singh Naik and the religious faction of Joria Parmeshwar, they get together and they form an alliance, and they decide to fight the British and set up or establish the Nayak Raj. So Raja Rup Singh Naik's two sons, Gilal and Valal Nayak, are also part of this movement, while Bhaiji Baria, who is a counselor to Raja Rup Singh Naik, is another important character during this 1868 phase. Right? For the British in this battle, the British brought together a very big force of different characters and different specialities. So the 6th Native Infantry also arrived. The 26th Native Infantry police force, the local police force, the Makranis, and the Arab militia with matchlocks were also there. They came from different regions, some from Baroda, some from Ahmedabad, some from far away. We do not know exactly from where they arrived, where to this particular region, but the route was either through Ahmedabad or through Baroda. This is how they arrived. And there were a lot of different, 4 or 5 different major events that happened during this 1868 phase, which the decisive one was the Battle of Wadek on 16th February 1868. And after that, the Naikras were comprehensively defeated. The surrender happened. All the Naikras, including Joria Parmeshwar and Jarup Singh Naik, also surrendered. And on 31st March 1868, their trial was organized in Jambuguda. Okay. So problem that we are facing is we do not have any pictures of the people or the tribal heroes that we are trying to talk about. So, like, for example, Jarup Singh Naik, we do not have any pictures. We only have the option of going into creating a portrait. Okay. So the problem was if somebody asks us, okay, how did you come to this visual narrative? Like, for example, if we go back, here you will see Raja Rup Singh Naik as slightly different, holding the bow and arrow, while here you are seeing a different picture over here. There he's a his facial features and everything are very different. That image taken from a school in Dandiapur, and that is how we are using it as a just a representative image. But now we have to actually go into curation, so to have a foundation or at least a parameter on based on which we go about it. So during our fieldwork in Bastar, we interacted with the Durva community. Now the movement in Bastar is the Bhumkal movement under Veer Gundadhar. So what the Dhurva community themselves did was they picked the facial pictures of the living descendant, the current living descendant of Gundadhar. They used his face, and the physical features were as narrated by the community elders. That this is how Gundadhar should look like. That is the same. That is formula that attracted us a lot. So that even if somebody asks question, okay, how did you come to this face? So we can clearly say, okay, we went by the face of Savji Naik, who is the current living descendant of Raja Rup Singh Naik. So that is what we are planning to basically create. How we'll be going through creating the visual depiction of the tribal people. Now, the story so far which I have told you is from the literature, from the gazettes, from the articles and everything. Based on that foundational understanding, we went into the field work, right? So we got support from the Gujarat Tribal Research and Training Institute. They helped us identify a couple of people who already have been studying this, and we went into the field. We did it in two different parts. The first was just a 1.5 day trip just to get into touch with these people that we'll be talking to. And then we did a 5, 6 day very intensive field work over there. So the best resource that we got was Mr. Vechad Parya, was a local MLA over there, but a fantastic resource. He knows all the archival documents and every local history also, including songs and everything. Some videos will be, I'll showcase you. We met the descendants, we interacted with them. Sauji Naik, you already saw in the previous picture. The picture is the living descendants or the living family of Bhaiji Bharya, the counselor of Raja Rup Singh Naik, he's like a wazir to Raja Rup Singh Naik, right? So we went to different locations in this. We visited Narupod, Wadek, Poili. Poili is the current head or the headquarters of the Naikada country, Dandiya Food. Wherever this events between the British and the Naikada, we visited all of them. The aim that we went through is we want to understand how the Naikadas remember that moment from 1838 to 1868 today. From that perspective, we went into it. So the first thing that we ask people is, how did Raja Rup Singh Naik look like? So they have folk songs and stories where his physical appearance is narrated. That's in very Nike language, mixer and Ratwi language. So I've not taken that video over here just to give you an idea of what was spoken in it. So he lived in a two-storied big Haveli. He had a 4 kilometer diameter farm, very big land. He rode an elephant, which is a sign of royalty. Very interesting because we do not have any evidence of elephants being there in that particular timeline, but still the community is telling it. We are going to portray that in the museum as well. He was a very hairy man, like a bear. He was 6 feet 5 inch, very physically strong, very physically good. Even run parallelly with a war horse, and he could climb mountains very easily. That is how that story and that folk song related to Raja Rup Singh Naik's appearance mentions him as, right? Then a folk song that we encountered, Raja Rup Singh Naik no Garvagan, song of valor related to Raja Rup Singh Naik. So the on the right left you find it in Gujarati, which is actually the Nike language, but we quoted. So the song goes like, Raja Rup Singh Naik, your bow is so and so kg, arrow is so and so, you won Udaipur, you won Halol, you blocked off Sankeda, you blocked off this region, and he's basically his valor, what kind of things we did. So that also gives us a community version of the events that happened. That Raja Rup Singh Naik fought in Halol, Raja Rup Singh Naik fought in Udaipur, Sankeda, and the different regions, and that is how his bow and arrow is the choice, the weapon of choice for Raja Rup Singh Naik. Right? It's a very lengthy song. I've just picked up a very short part of it. There'll be a video I'll try to show. Then there's a very interesting story that happens around 1858. So we saw that in 1838 there was a stalemate, after which there was no armed struggle or any violence that happened between any party. But in 1857, 1858, there was rise of discontent, and the Naikra start to go and find their Raja, that he can stand up and address the issues that they are facing. So the Naikadas cannot find him. He's roaming around in the jungles, and it is very difficult to locate where he is going. So people are asking the people around, different people, okay, how do we go and find Raja Rup Singh Naik? It is a desperation that we are in, and we absolutely hell-bent have to identify and speak to Raja Rup Singh Naik wherever. So there's one person who comes and tells him that he always rides an elephant, and follow the footsteps of the elephant, and you will find where Raja Rup Singh Naik is today. So they follow the elephant's footsteps and they arrive in the village, which is where Raja Rup Singh Naik meets them. He gets to and he understands what their problems is, and he assures them, I will address the problem. Do not worry, I'll solve your problems. So today that village became Hathi Pagla. Hathi is elephant, Pagla is feet. So when we went to Hathi Pagla and the site of where exactly these people met Raja Rup Singh Naik, this is what we found. It's actually a geological feature on this mountain, the western side of the mountain, very close to the Hathi Pagla village. So the geographical is portrayed in form of a story here before this. This is where he met him. This image that you see just looks like an elephant like that, right? So this again will be part of our curation as well. Right? This video I tried to put in, but I do not know if it's not playing. But I'll show it maybe if we have time later on. Uh, just one second. Yeah. So then 1868 again I spoke very briefly about Joria Parmeshwar's mystical powers. So there are different stories associated to him. How did he get his divine powers? One is that he was sitting on a mountain one day and he slept while meditating over there, and two deers came in his dream and told him that from tomorrow you have to lead the Naikadas in battle against the British and create the Naika Raj. The other is that he used to meditate in a one particular location in the jungle on a stone. He had a stone seating place where the people used to come to him. They used to tell him his problems and used to solve them, like a darbar kind of a thing that used to organize for the people. So that location, he used to meditate and used to address or meet the people. It was a very big, thick bamboo forest. And every time when he used to get up, he used to get struck by a bamboo and he used to get very irritated. So one day he got very irritated and he just cut it off. So from one end of the bamboo, blood started pouring out, and the other side of the bamboo, milk started pouring out. Then he understood that this is something very divine, and he asked the bamboo, "Who are you?" So the bamboo replied to him that I am the goddess of bamboo, and I've come you to give some divine elements or divine artifacts. So the bamboo that you've cut, make a bow out of it and use the other part which remains as your stick. Give your bow to the other leader and use the stick for yourself. So these two elements, these two divine weapons became, the bow went to Raja Rup Singh Naik and the stick was wielded by Joria Parmeshwar throughout the movement. That is what how the Naikra people tell us that this is how these because of these two weapons, they could stand toe to toe with the British. Right? This is just an interpretation of representational image that I'm trying to show. The kind of bamboo kits that we have, this is just we don't have this style of bamboo forest anymore. Very less now, right? Okay, so another folk song. So I spoke about the divine weapons that Joria Parmeshwar got, and now let me come to how did the Naikadas lose the war. So Naikadas also have a folk song to explain why did they lose. So this is a very lengthy song again, which is sung by the family of Bhaiji Baria, the counselor of Raja Rup Singh Naik. The story goes in the folk song. I'm just giving you a gist that the Bhaiji Baria's family members are warning Bhaiji Baria not to go to. This is about a meeting. Do not go to this meeting. This is the thing about that. So the song tells us that Doria Parameshwar had acquired this divine bow and stick, and British got information or received the information or were told that because of these two elements, these two weapons, Naikras will never be defeated. So British had to devise a plan through which these two weapons can be stolen away from the Naikras and then the Naikras can be defeated. So British plot that and invite Raja Rup Singh Naik, his and Sanjoria Parmeshwar to a meeting where that device is replaced by a duplicate stick. Arya Parmeshwar does not realize that that stick has been replaced or that bow has been replaced, and they go back with the duplicate bow and stick, and they lose the war then. So Bhaiji Baria is very well aware that this is a plot. We should not participate in this particular meeting, but still they go ahead with it. This is very interesting because Naikaras also have an element that this is why we lost the war. They also remember the reason for the losing of the war. Now, this is just a small video that I have put up over here. This is the only video actually is playing, which is in the presentation. This is a folk song, the one that we saw previously. I hope it is audible.
Not yet. Can't hear it. It's not audible actually.
Anuj, it's not audible.
It's not audible. Okay,
No.
I'll show it separately, ma'am. I tried to very briefly. So this photo is how what I'm trying to showcase is that Naikaras have a tradition of ancestor worship and remembering their heroes also. Whoever does a decent anything good for the community is remembered till date. So how to remember them is through hero stones or memory stones. So this particular uh, site is specifically for Raja Roop Singh Naik and his son. The third, the one on the very left is Raja Roop Singh Naik. The one in the center is of Galal Naik, his son. On the right, we could not identify because worn off, so we could not read the name. But most probably it is Joria Parmeshwar, but it's not identified. Then on auspicious day or whenever they have to do anything important or on festivals or on fairs, this site becomes a holy place. Offerings are made. Terracotta artifacts or wooden, the kind that you see close to the third one, from the first one from the right, it's slightly damaged, but this is called a khil. A khil is a wooden carved artifact which you can either put it in front of your ancestors' palia or sorry, the name of this artifact, the stone artifact, is called palia, and the wooden artifact is the keel. Keel is a offering which can be used for both your ancestors and for your different gods. So Naikada pantheon of gods is very different. You have Gai Vachdi Dev for the cows, Bhais Dev for buffaloes, and so on. Different. God of mountain, god of trees, god of Mauda, god of oil, different gods they have. So from during a field work, we also managed to find a very small portion, 3-4 page from an archival document which was there in possession of Mr. Vechad Varya, and he was very helpful that he shared that with us. This is the court testimony that was, or the court interrogation that was done with Raja Roop Singh Nayak and Joria Kalia Parmeshwar. Right? We also get a list of who was incriminated or who stood for trial and what happened to them. Raja Roop Singh Naik lost both his son during this entire family, basically lost. Valariu Naik dies in the Battle of Wadek. Gulal Naik is captured. Roop Singh Naik himself is captured. So a lot of his family members paid a very heavy price during this battle. Right? Then this is 1868 ends. They are put through trial process. They are hanged. After that, the movement still, the Naikada persecution still continues. So in 1871, the British implemented the Criminal Tribes Act, and the Naikadas were also incorporated in the criminal tribes. Now, when we were in the field, they were constantly telling us that ढूंढी मार कायदा के वजह से हमें ये region छोड़ना पड़ा. We had to leave this region, the Narukot, the original Nayak homeland, and they had to disperse because of the Dhundi Mar Kaido. Now, initially, we did not understand what is the Dhundi Mar Kaido. Then, finally, we came to the point and we asked them very precisely, is this what it was? So we went to the criminal tribes that and tried to get in conversation, which was like a 2-3 hours just discussing what was Dhundi Mar Kaido. And that is how we came to that. It is most probably the criminal tribes act. Now what happened is they have different songs again for the Dhundi Mar Kaido and how the heroes were, the men were specifically identified, the fighting men, capable men who could fight back, identified, and they were taken away, and then they were never seen again. So the Nike just vacate Narupod region, they disperse, they change their names, they do not call themselves Naikada again, they live in anonymity, they just live like a nomadic lifestyle after that for a long period. And during this period, there's a story which we found during the field, which is related to a Hiral by Nayak. Now, this is in form of a folk song also and a story as well. And we also found her Palia also. So the story is that the village, Wangpol village, there was an incident where a British officer kills a Naikada lady. It's a very gory story that she's pregnant. The British officer is very angry for some reason, and he goes out of control. He crushes her under his horse, and her fetus is also cut, and the baby is killed also. The very that kind of a story. Then Hirilbai decides that we cannot take this operation anymore, and she creates a army of women, a fighting women army. She goes and attacks the Godra camp of the British. Whichever British she finds over there, she just kills everybody. She cuts their heads off. Very gory story again, but this is the narrative this is what the story is. Then she comes back and she puts it in front of her deity. And there's a song which immortalizes this bravery that Hirilbai portrays through Hirilbai no Garbo. Garbo again is Garba also and the Song of Valor both together. So because of the Dhundimar Kaido, the Naikaras are dispersed. They do not have any specific homeland, but the grandson of Raja Rup Singh Naik is still alive. The Naikara people have made sure that he is protected. He lives in life in exile. He's constantly on the move. Some places they even dress him in a sari so that nobody identifies him. And finally, when he feels that the time is right, he's of the age, he decides that the Naikaras now should have a central homeland or one particular region where they can slowly start to come back to this region and form the Naikara country. So the traditional homeland from Zinjri to Narupot is now shifted almost 60-70 kilometers away to a village called Poili. Poili is again on the top of a mountain, very picturesque. I'll show some pictures down the line. Very picturesque region, which is where now the all the deities are also stationed at the top of the uh, mountain. And that Koili now also organizes every year the Naikada festival on Holi, on as well the religious factions. Everything happens in Koili basically. So Jinga Galal Nayak, or the son of Galal, and the grandson of Raja Rup Singh Nayak, he finally comes into the picture and he forms the Poili village, which is where all the current descendants of the Naikada are also living. So on the left is the Palia of Diralbai Nayak. Uh, it's in Wangpol village. And I'm not sure if this video again would play, but this is the Diralbai no Garbo, the folk song talking about or trying to, which talks about the story that I just said, Hiralbai's story. And this is about Jinga Kalal Nayak and how Poili looks like, just to give an image. So these are the shrines, different shrines of the Nayakra gods. So like I mentioned, Vyasdev. So there will not be any idol or anything. An important tree is identified. Either it would be Mahuda, most peculiar, it will be Mahua. And around it, people will start keeping of artifacts of offering, and then it would become like a place of important shrine or something like that. So this is how eventually over the years it will start looking like. And just to give an idea, the image on top is the road that the Nacra till today they take to go from Poili to Jambugoda. So it's like 1.5 hours only. So it was like just we walk through the forest and go to Jambugoda for any. Okay. So this is a lineage that is maintained by the descendants of Raja Rup Singh Nayak. You have the Tokal Nayak at the very top, then Gobar Nayak, Rup Singh Nayak, his sons, till the current descendants. This is what they had maintained in a different thing, and they were more than happy to share it with us. the refined digital version, but they have it in handwritten at their house as well. So today, there are two schools that are named after this Naikada heroes. The one in Dandiapur is named after Raja Roop Singh Naik, and the one in Wadek is named after Sanjoria Parameshwar. And there are two statues built in that particular periphery. The Naikadas wanted these statues in Poili so that they can organize an annual function just to remember Raja Roop Singh Naik very specifically, but because they were in the school campus, that they are in a different location. So very quickly, I'll just show you how we are creating. This is a 2D layout of how we are visualizing the presenting the Naikada history in the museum. So this is just how we are visualizing is basically we showcasing it as a Naikada village, and through uh, while you are taking this journey through the village, we'll be narrating the things. So this particular section is Jagat Singh Bharia inviting the British to take over Naru Port. Behind, you can see that the British have now started implementing their policies, and the oppression and the taxation and everything is increasing. This is how the Naikaras have gone to locate Raja Roop Singh Naik. Behind, you see a conflict of 1838 over there. Then the trial of Raja Roop Singh Naik and Joria Parmeshwar. It was done in an open air just close to Jambu Ghoda. The same location then became a Jambu Ghoda fort, which was government and semi-government military operational center. Okay. This is where we'll be ending the gallery, showcasing how the Naikaras remember this moment today. So we'll have the Palias are here, the hero stones, hills and everything, and ending it with the Dhundimar, Kaido and everything will be incorporated through this particular thing. Now we are using AV, but that AV will also be showcasing the unity perspective is our priority. I'm in a bit of hurry. I hope I have not made any mistake, ma'am.
No, no, no. It was
I
so
hope it was.
interesting, and you also showed us the layout of the gallery. Any questions? The house is open to questions. Professor Ajay Pratap, Samita, you want to say something? You unmute yourself.
Yes, yes.
I
I think this is a very fine presentation, and I do not envy the breadth of the length and the breadth of the task that faces the this new museum. But I wish to add just one point of fact, Dr. Patel, if I may, that
So
amongst
no
the
doctor,
movements that
just
you had, hello, yeah.
yes, yes,
Uh,
please. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wish to add a small point of fact, Dr. Patel, in this very nice presentation and very, full of new information, a great learning opportunity. That amongst the very first tribal movements of the country, which take place in Bengal for the good reason that the system of private property called permanent settlement was first introduced by the British in eastern India in the
Yes, sir.
Bengal province. So the
Yes,
first anti-colonial movements led by the forest-dwelling people of that time is the Pahadia uprising of 1770, which is
yes, sir.
amongst
Tilka
the
Manji.
counted among. Yeah, that's right.
Anything else? Samita, you wanted to say something?
wanted to say it's a very, very interesting project, and I'm just very happy to see it. I also wanted to ask if at all it's a permissible question to ask. I wanted to know who are the architects or designers on the project
Yes,
involved.
yes, of course.
Uh, yeah, it's EDC Bangalore that will be doing the curation DPR for us.
EDC Bangalore.
Yeah,
Okay,
they've done the Jange Aadha.
okay, got it.
Okay. And with this presentation, I don't know how to summarize it, because this is the first time I'm seeing a gallery being commissioned on tribal freedom fighter struggle, and so interestingly, things I don't know have come to light. I always knew the tribal people and their when I was doing some kind of a project for the tribal museum of Andhra Pradesh, erstwhile state. But then things flowed. I didn't concentrate much. But once again, through my student Hanoz Patel, I again get involved and get informed about the tribals. It's very interesting that this museums are being thought of their contribution to the freedom struggle. I've got one more submission that
Sure.
every war they fought, I won't call it a war. Every time they wanted to snub the freedom struggle, the freedom fighters, and they won, it was not due to their technique or tactic. It was due to
Yeah.
betrayal. It was due to
Yes,
cheating. I
yes,
can,
madam.
because I'm also a historian, done my masters in history, modern history. So I can easily trace it. So it's not that was not a surprise at all, and the cruelty also was not a surprise. They just didn't care. If you see
Sure.
Rani Lakshmi Bai, ever you go to Jhansi and you see
Yes,
the
ma'am.
fort wall from where she jumped, holding her infant over the fort wall, you will be surprised. That was the prowess of our Indians, be it tribal, be it royalty. If you see their contribution, the women's contribution to the freedom struggle, it was exemplary. It was, you just can't call it patriotism. It was a kind of positive energy they had within themselves. So, I would like to know if there were any freedom fighters among the female population you were referring to.
Uh, so, ma'am, the most famous is Rani Gaidindu, Manipur, the Heraka Zaliagrong movement at Haipo Jadunag, and then Rani Gaidindu takes over. We have Helen Lepcha from Bengal. She's a Lepcha. Putli Maya Tamang is one of them. Santhal has, but we've not, there's no mention of the sisters Pulo and Jano and the wife of Sido Murmu. But in folk songs, we do get their mention. There's Dasri Ben Chaudhary from the Chaudhary community who was a close aide of Kasturba Gandhi. Uh, Quite a few. Uh, uh, then there's Lalnu Roykulani, Mizo King from Mizoram. Uh, it's around
So,
East.
Hanus,
I don't
perhaps in
remember the
your,
date now.
yeah, that's all right. Perhaps in your next presentation, when you get an opportunity with us, you could
Sure,
give these facts also to us. You could present these facts and their role.
sure,
That is so important. Many are just left, hidden if they're not brought
yes,
to
ma'am.
light. Okay, so with this Hanoz's presentation, which we immensely enjoyed. Thank you, Hanos. I hurried you out of
And
that meeting, but it was
no, no,
needed
no.
because others we would have
This,
been left ignorant about all this. And secondly, tomorrow again the sessions are jammed. We could not have accommodated you. I'm so glad that you gave us your time. All the best to
thank you,
you.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
Personally, my best wishes. But make sure to attend the sessions tomorrow.
Sure,
It may
sure,
not
sure.
be of
I will,
your
I will.
choice, the subjects, but attend because it's museums, it's museology.
Sure, sure.
At the end of the day, you're going to become a museologist, tribal or non-tribal.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
and in future when I
Yes,
have the
ma'am.
time, I would like to do one field trip with you,
Sure,
right?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Anytime.